What is up, guys? We're back with another Suzy Lou review. So yesterday I got the chance to finish Little Nightmares. Now I have been so excited to play Little Nightmares for months. I'm kind of sad though because I managed to complete the game in 3.5 hours on my first playthrough. I heard that it was a 6-hour game on your first playthrough, so I'm a little bit disappointed that it's only 3.5 hours, because I know when I play it again today to try and get the collectibles, it's probably only going to take me about 2 hours. So let's not start off with a criticism and let's get into the story and my review of Little Nightmares. So Little Nightmares is a game about, I'm gonna say girl, because I've seen everybody saying online that it's a girl, and I personally think it's a girl as well. And the main character is called Six. Now, basically, Little Nightmares is about escaping from a ship. Now, it said on the Wikipedia that it was an underwater resort, but we actually see a little bit later on in the game that it's clearly a ship as we go outside and we have to climb up the side of it. So the game is very similar to that of Inside and Limbo, both of those being absolute favorite games of mine. I don't know, I feel like I enjoyed this one more so than Inside. I liked the fact that you could kind of see what you were doing. You had a lighter throughout the entire game, which seemed to have unlimited fluid, which is great. But even though it had such dark themes in the game, you could still see everything that had been put into this game, and it wasn't as dark as, say, Limbo or Inside. So I actually prefer Little Nightmares over those two games. Now, there's been a lot of confusion about the story. These kind of games don't tend to hand you the story, and unlike the review I did the other day for Outlast 2, where we have notes and we can kind of compare the evidence and things like that, this one, a lot of the time, is leaving it open to your own interpretation. So that's what I'm gonna do today, and I'm gonna go through why I think what I do about this story, and I'd also like to get your guys' input as well in regards to Little Nightmares. So you play as Six, and you're running around this ship, and you begin in the lower decks of this ship. Now, initially, you were kind of on your own and you're just sussing out the atmosphere. You see some leeches and you see some rats and things like that, but you eventually come across a janitor. Now, the janitor is absolutely terrifying with his long arms, but he is blind, which is quite an interesting concept about him. Because even though he is blind, he is still trying to do numerous things. Now, lucky for us, we can kind of walk on the rugs to get around the janitor, but something that I found very interesting straight away about the janitor is that in his room, he has a lot of kids' toys. Now, as the game progresses, we actually see a lot of children that are maybe in cages. There's also a child that happily gives you a piece of food when your character is pretty much dying of starvation. Also, there's a lot of suitcases at this point in the game as well. So that makes me think that either the children thought that maybe they were going away on some kind of a school trip and they ended up on the Maw, or maybe it was some sort of a summer school or anything like that. It's just very interesting that there's a lot of play school toys as well as a lot of kids' clothing. There's one point in the game where we go down into what seems to look like a massive laundry room filled with clothes. So as we progress through the story, we meet twin chefs. Now, these chefs are obviously cutting up the people to feed the people that are above us on the ship. Now, I believe that it's the janitor's job to basically get the kids to the twin chefs. But obviously the janitor then gets to keep the kids' clothing, gets to keep the toys, the suitcases are still around that area. And I feel like that kind of confirms that it all starts with the janitor. The twin chefs don't seem to have that much of a backstory. They just tend to be doing their job, which is to obviously just cut up the food, prepare the food, do the dishes, and try and kill you in the process, which is absolutely terrifying. I hated that part of the game. It was just, oh, it did things to me. So I'm very interested in the little gnomes that we see throughout the game. I honestly don't feel like I have any theories about them. Now, they're very important in the sense that when they initially see you, they run away from you. And if you catch up to them, you can actually give them a hug. Now, in my first playthrough on my channel, I didn't actually do this because I wasn't aware, but it turns out that if you hug them, at the end of the game, they're kind of following you up the stairs, or at least they're at arm's length at the end of the game. Now, I didn't have that, but I have seen what it looks like. Now, I don't know if it matters how many gnomes you hug, or if it's like just the ones you've hugged are following you at the end of the game. Where they came from, why they are there, I have absolutely no idea. I feel like the gnomes are the character in the game that I know the least about. I find it interesting though, because their hat looks very similar to the main character 6 as well. When you actually go up the top of the ship, you end up finally meeting like the head of the ship, the lady, and she's absolutely terrifying, but she has quite an interesting backstory. She definitely likes the Japanese themes, that's for sure. She's wearing a kimono, she's got her hair done in that very similar way, and she's the one that is obviously organizing the harvest for all these other giant, ugly, horrible beings that are here. And they seem kind of like brain dead. All they're interested in is eating. And there is at one point where you get to scurry across the table hoping that you don't get caught by any of them. But yeah, they seem to be a little bit brain dead, and some people have referred to them as guests of hers. I don't know about that. I mean, there was part of me that felt like maybe they were prisoners, but then at the same time, it's like, would you really feed your prisoners that way? So maybe it is right that they are the lady's guests, and that's why they're preparing this much food. But why she would do that, we don't know at this point. The Japanese lady is very insecure. I mean, don't get me wrong, she looks kind of beautiful, but when you actually go into her room, all the mirrors are smashed. And it's only at the very end of the game where you find a mirror and you putting the mirror in her face. And then when that mirror smashes, she seems to lose all of her power. And it's actually a very key moment because your main character 6 is suffering from starvation throughout the game. And in my opinion, I feel like 6 was very normal at the start of the game, just a normal character, but then obviously the starvation started getting to them. So we see as they go through the game, like they'll be eating regular meat, but then suddenly they'll eat a rat. And then at one point, one of the gnomes actually offers a sausage and 6 decides to eat the gnome instead. And then right at the very end, obviously your character is starving again and she feeds on the Japanese lady, which ultimately then gives 6 the evil powers that the Japanese lady had. So I feel like 6 wasn't evil up until the very end when the hunger kind of took over. And you see at the very end where 6 is walking towards the stairs and she's killing everybody as she's going past. Now, I had a bit of a theory on this one where maybe she felt sorry for these people because they're kind of brain dead and all they want to do is eat. So maybe 6 in a way was putting them out of their misery and just wanting to start again. Or maybe it's the complete opposite, where the power has completely gone to 6's head and she's just killing them because she can. Or maybe she believes that they might try and stop her escape. Overall, I really enjoyed this game. I actually like the fact that there's going to be different opinions from a lot of people in regards to what really happened at the end. Because obviously there's no notes or anything like that. We just have to speculate off of our own. But this is what I think happened at the end of Little Nightmares. I would love to hear what you guys think happened at the end. And if you agree with some of my points, if you think differently, I would love to hear them. For me, the game had a few annoying points, like the checkpoints were a little bit mean. So you would end up like lighting up the checkpoints, but then if you died, it actually put you a lot further back than you were expecting. So in a way, the game made you not want to die, even though you're gonna die a lot when you play this game, because a lot of the puzzles are kind of tricky, it's difficult. But that's what makes it so adorable, is that it never really gets repetitive, it's always something new. And for that, I'm quite happy to give this game a 4 out of 5. I would have given it a 5 out of 5 if the checkpoints had been nicer and if the game had been just a little bit longer. It was just a little bit short for how much they were asking. It's like a £6 game or something like that, but you know, you're ending up paying £15, and I think that's too much for the content that you're actually getting out of the game. But other than that, I absolutely adored Little Nightmares, and I hope you guys enjoyed my review of this game. I'm gonna go and play some other games, so thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!